You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about how fighting the worst version of yourself is not quite the metaphor we imagine it to be. I'm MJ.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And joining us is my castmate and friend, Velvet Divine.
Hello, my name is Velvet Divine. I use favorite pronouns. I'm super stoked to be here to talk about one of my favorite things in the world.
We are very excited to have you.
I'm so happy that you're here. We've been talking about getting Velvet on the show for a while. I'm so glad we had the opportunity.
I'm super stoked. You reached out because as soon as I knew you were doing a Mass Effect one, I was like, I want to be on there, but I don't know how to ask. And then you beat me to it, so thank you.
Pick me.
Yeah, breaking up shore leave has benefited bringing on a handful of guests that we had been wanting to, but didn't know if we'd be able to this season. Unfortunately, there are some guests who did fall off this season, but we're hoping to grab them all for our Andromeda season after this. Before we get into the more specific nitty-gritty of your experience, Velvet, why don't you tell us what you do? Let folks know what your deal is, as it were.
I'm kind of a variety content creator. Most of what I do is actual play podcasts and a lot of TTRPG streaming. Within the past couple of months, I've gotten into just regular video game streaming, and I'm hoping to just kind of keep broadening those horizons. I think especially as I go through grad school, it's stuff like this that keeps me from self-immolating.
That's legit.
That's valid. We've talked one-on-one a little bit about your experience with Mass Effect, but do you feel comfortable sharing with our listeners how you came to Mass Effect and what it's done for you?
Absolutely. I think I can't remember the age when I picked it up, but it was a couple of years after it came out. I think I missed out on it at first because I was still fairly young, and I think Mass Effect came out in 2005?
2007.
2007? Okay. All right, so I think around the time it came out. It's funny, I first played it, I rented it from Blockbuster back when that was a thing.
Back when those existed.
Yeah. I played the absolute hell out of it. I think I went through with every companion, every class, and then, just repeated that process when the sequels came out. And I always joked, because Christopher Lee would speak about how, he read through the Lord of the Rings once per fiscal. I went through the Mass Effect once per fiscal. That was my big thing.
Love that. That's excellent.
It's definitely something we can relate to.
Yeah.
So, Velvet, leading up to Mass Effect 3, let's go through the choices that you've made. Would you say you're more Paragon or Renegade as a player?
Ultimately Paragon. I tried to vary the two, but it ended up being the type of thing where, as far as the big choices were concerned, they were pretty much all Paragon, and then I just, farmed those Renegade points in conversation, and then later, the little interrupting vignettes in the 2 and 3.
Yep. What about your favorite class? What class do you think is your class?
Definitely Nova. No, Vanguard. Nova's the power. Vanguard is the class.
Yep.
Close enough. That's fine.
What became of the Rachni Queen?
I saved her, and then saved her once again on 3 at the expense of Arkela Company. F's in chat.
Pour one out for Arlec Company. Your Vermeer survivor.
Ooh, you know what? I got a lot of flack for this one, but it's definitely one of those narrative choices that I stand by. So my survivor is always Ashley. And the reason that is because, I tried to stay in that moment and not get too meta when I'm making the choice. Caden had bomb expertise. So if homie knows how to use the bomb, I'm going to send them to prep it, not somebody who can maybe, figure it out. And then, when it comes to the 11th hour on who you choose to rescue, I usually have Ashley and the fire team with the Solarian Special Forces. So it becomes that point of, am I going right into, the heat of it to get one person, or am I going the slightly less dangerous route and saving, 11 or however many there are in total?
That makes a lot of sense, and that's a logic we haven't heard yet. Look, you just want to stop space racism at home, and you're keeping Ashley around to make that change. I respect it.
what happened to the council? Did you save them or did you let them die?
You know what? I'm a big nerd. So on top of the soul searching for that decision, I actually also computed like all the galactic readiness like points that I would get from either one. So I settled on saving the council. The point difference is negligible, but narratively, I'm like, at least the Solarian and Turian counselors are a little bit more favorably predisposed to you. Because, I mean, the Asari one will, like, always hit your guts, but that's fine. And then, like, definitely just, as far as, like, a PR thing, like, it makes the humans look, like, less power grubby in the long run.
Yeah.
For sure.
Makes us look good. Who do you choose to represent humanity on the council?
Oh, Anderson. Udina's such a little
Like,
bitch.
It
no
sounds so
hesitation.
obvious.
No hesitation, Matt. Do you see? Do you see?
Yeah.
Every time, like, I interact with Udina and Anderson, I like to think my shepherd just, like, looks at Anderson like, how have you not punched this man in the face? I know you do later,
Yeah.
but you have so many chances.
And what about Rex? Does he survive on Vermeer?
My Mass Effect experience would not be nearly what it was without or not Rex present. So, yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people stand Rex. Okay, here's a controversial one. Kill or rewrite the Geth?
You know what? That's a really tough one. In the moment, I always rewrite them. I struggle when I think what I would do with the meta knowledge, but at least in that moment, you know, kind of getting their side of things and, you know, knowing like the circumstances that pushed them there, and obviously, you know, not knowing that, you know, they're gonna kind of turn to the Reapers for protection later on, I always save them. Because at least for B and, you know, kind of my shepherd in that moment, I can't ever bring myself to just erase them.
And what became of the collector base?
Ooh. I always destroy it, but I think that's part of, I think just knowing that if you try to keep it, it ends up killing you. But I feel like if I could keep it safely, I probably would try to, just because it's like, listen, like, we might as well get something out of this whole fiasco.
I mean, I can see a case for keeping the collector base as long as it doesn't go to the elusive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
I just don't want him to happen.
Right. Literally anybody but him.
And lastly, how about romance? Did you fall in love with someone in 1? Did you stay loyal in 2?
I've gone through the whole gamut. My OTP, my always, like, you know, canon situation is just Liara for all 3 games. But definitely when we were first going through it, before we got kind of like that lair of the Shadow Broker, or knew that she would be, you know, available to rekindle that, I definitely, you know, tried out different folks in 2.
Were there romances that were your favorite? Or was it Liara, though?
I think Liara is always definitely, like, top pick, but I also really enjoyed getting to, like, know Jack and Miranda. I think those are always just, like, out of my wavelengths, because I always play femshep. Fun fact, like, Mass Effect really helped me figure that out, because I would push people onto it, and I had, like, younger family members who played it, and they were like, why are you always playing femshep? And I'm like,
What a question!
Let me get back to you on that.
I can relate to the journey.
It's funny. You mentioned before about how your playthrough wouldn't be complete without Rex. And like Rex is so integral to this DLC that we're discussing last episode, this episode, next episode. It's like, I can't imagine what this DLC would be like without Rex. Is there a stand-in for Rex if he dies? Do you know, MJ?
I don't know. He's probably not there. Somebody else from your squad probably shows up.
You know what? I was doing a little bit of a deep dive just to make sure I had like all the details. I ended up watching like the Rex compilation right before we got on call. But yeah, I think there's a couple of sections where like some of the things he would do get replaced by other members. So like the I don't know if eponymous is the right word, but that titular scene where he just like dives out of the window and like lands on the shuttle to like knock it down.
The Krogan airdrop.
Yeah, if if Rex isn't there, then it's Vega who like downs it with a rocket or something.
Sense.
Yeah,
that definitely makes sense.
He's a human Krogan at this point. We've discussed, so effectively that does make sense.
That is in fact the person that I would put there.
All right. Well, before we get too far into our Citadel DLC Part 2 discussion, why don't we do a summary?
A summary! I tried to make this not as long as the other one, but who knows? Where we last left our heroes, they return to Shepard's new apartment to regroup. Their next move takes them to the archives to hopefully confront the villain trying to steal Shepard's life. Of course, it's a trap, and the squad is ambushed. Brooks is taken hostage by the mastermind behind the plot, Shepard's clone. It becomes a race as Shepard tries to head off their clone and keep them from whatever it is they're searching for in the archives. Shepard finally gets to the end, only to become trapped in a vault tube, a result of Brooks's betrayal. Maya was not who she claimed to be, and now she and the Shepard clone are off to steal the Normandy. It's a harrowing fight to the Normandy, where Traynor is reeling from being fired by the fake Shepard, only to come face to face with the real one. It takes the miraculous power of Traynor's toothbrush to get the squad on board, to fight their way down to the shuttle bay for the final confrontation.
Amazing. We'll talk about that more later, but the toothbrush scene is the best payoff of anything
really
from
is.
the third game, at least. But before we get to that, Velvet, why is this your... Like, what do you love? What's your favorite part of this DLC, especially this section? Do you have a favorite moment of the archives part of the mission?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not one specific moment, but I think just the general vibe of the all hands on deck, I really love. Because, for a series where you gather so many friends and squad mates to just, like, have, besides, like, like that last bit of the Collector, or, like the Collector base in 2, we don't get very moments where we have all hands on deck or see more than just, like, the two taking point with Shepard kind of interacting. So that was definitely my favorite part of it.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think it was really smart, since this is essentially fan service, the DLC. Yeah. That was the goal of it. The idea of like that we're going to talk about it, but like in this opening part of this section, the whole squad's discussing how to go to the archives, and essentially it gets suggested, well, we're all going to go this time, and that's just such a wild concept for all of Mass Effect, since you could only bring 2 people every time. And yeah, I think it's just, there are some things I'll point out when we get to it, but like there were some weird things that I'm wondering if they're consistent in the Legendary Edition now that it's out. But yeah, let's talk about this meeting. So we get back from the casino, we check in with everybody, and now we're going to talk about the next mission. I just want to point out that before we get into this conversation, I mentioned at the end of last episode, I believe, that James Vega is particularly hungry when you talk to him. And so that's going to come up.
Yeah. I love James Vega.
Me too.
His stomach is bottomless.
Vega actually had to grow on me, I think the first time around, because I guess I wasn't aware of, like, extended canon or the comic. Yeah. Like, he was very chubby. He was really familiar. And I'm like, listen, like, I don't know you like that.
He's just like that. And I kind of like it about him because he doesn't let, like, rank really stand in the way of how he bonds with people.
Yeah.
And, like, he's a really interesting character. And I think that with James, they started to really care about the humans they were bringing in.
Yeah, he was definitely a better constructed character. And like, also, I had to warm up to him also. If you listen to our third season, you can hear me in real time warming up to Vega. But part of that is also I've warmed up to Freddie Prinze Jr., an actor who I've always liked, but like I didn't realize how deep his nerdery went for Star Wars and other things until very recently, and the characters he's voiced and all of that stuff. And so, and like having rediscovered my love over the last few years of Dragon Age and specifically Inquisition and Iron Bull, like all of that, I think strengthened my love of Vega because it's all tied back to Freddie Prinze Jr.
It is.
I will say that also helped me a lot because I wasn't until like after my second, maybe third playthrough that I realized that Vega was Freddie Prinze Jr. And then like that completely spun around because I'm like, oh no, this isn't like, very chummy Vega. This is just Space Iron Bull. We're just continuing our friendship in a different universe.
Exactly what's happening. It's Space Freddie Prinze Jr., who is basically the same thing as Fantasy Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah,
except
exactly.
Fantasy Freddie Prinze Jr. is a little more open about his kinks. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Therein lies the difference. Yeah, we get some witty banter before we start the meeting. I do appreciate that when you approach Rex, if you didn't bring Rex with you, that he's just like, what, you didn't want me as your date?
Yeah, he gives you crap about it.
Too much Krogan for you? You're just like, yes, I'm leaving now.
That's exactly why.
You're like my older brother. This is gross. Please stop doing this.
I love that he says it to both male and female shepherd. I think that that's like what I love about Rex and a lot of the characters by this point in the game is that gender has become irrelevant for a lot of stuff. Not necessarily the sexuality side. That's still caught up in it a lot, but at least like the friendship stuff, like if you're friends with Garrus, it doesn't matter if you're femme shep or male shep, Garrus acts the same. And same with Rex and Grunt and a bunch of other characters. And I appreciate that, especially characters you get really close to. And this is a perfect example of that. That and Rex's liberal use of the word princess to describe everybody.
Said it so many times.
And I mean, Rex even starts copying him on that too. Like, I think when you do the drop into the archives, he's like, Krogan first. See you there, princesses.
Yes, he does say that. Real quick before we talk about the meeting, Matt, I am curious what Caden says to you.
I think he flirts a little more. He talks about how he wished there was more time. Like, it was nice to see me all dressed up, and he wished there was more time to kind of like be together at the casino.
That's cute. That's sweet. He's such a soft boy.
He is.
Garrus said, you were getting a lot of looks. I was getting a lot of looks too, but the looks I was getting said, how did a Turian like that get a girl like her?
That sounds like Garrus.
And I was just like, you're cute and I love you. All right, let's talk about this meeting. Okay, so Edie and Maya are working together to try and decrypt the file that you pull off of Elijah Khan's computer. And there's some nice witty banter where Joker is being really cute with Edie.
Yes. I like the interplay at these meetings, but the last one and this one, there's some banter back and forth between Caden and Rex. Interactions between characters that existed in the first game, I'm discovering as I replay the Legendary Edition, but I didn't notice them as much. And I think this is a really good payoff to a lot of those inter-character conversations that you could have in the elevators or in the transition screens or on the missions. And this just feels like a more scripted version of that plays off on the natural friendship of these characters.
Yeah. We find out that someone is using Shepard Spectre credentials at the Citadel archives, which is some real Area 51 shit.
Yep.
Our meeting is interrupted by a Volus.
Yeah, this part had me rolling. So
Yes.
I mentioned earlier that James is very hungry. Apparently, during the meeting, before the meeting, it's unclear. James decided to order a pizza, and the Volus pizza guy shows up. And I love the Voluses. I kind of like they tend to be the butt of the joke for their size, but here it's just comical. It has nothing to do with his shape or size.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
comical
just the
that it is
absurdity of a random person in my apartment interrupting my top secret meeting holding a pizza.
Yeah.
It could have been a Solari and it still would have been funny.
Totally.
I do think it's slightly funnier that it's a Volus because they are often the butt of the joke, but instead he's kind of in the joke instead of being the punchline. And it spawns one of my favorite moments of the DLC where you do say all hands on deck, everybody's coming for this one, and somebody says, okay, well, who's on point with you? And 3 different characters say, ahem.
Yeah, for me, it was Tali. I don't know if it's different, but like for me, it was Tali. I think it was Caden and maybe Rex.
Okay, I had Tali, Rex, and Javik.
Oh, maybe it was Javik.
I think it's always Tali and Rex, and then maybe the third one's randomized because I also had Javik.
Okay.
Interesting. But yeah, that moment's great. And then once you pick 2 people, like everyone else starts to talk about how you didn't pick them.
That's later.
Oh, that's later.
That does happen.
It does. It's hard to
do
keep track.
love that.
I will say, I'm always curious how the Volus made it through, the gate bouncer
How did
grunt.
you get into my apartment?
How'd they make it past grunt? The being bouncer's his whole thing.
Well, Grunt's not there yet.
Oh, that would be why.
Yeah, Grunt shows up for the party later.
Gotcha. Okay.
But he just walks into my apartment. He's just like, "Hello, I have a pizza for you."
Yeah.
And he's just he joins in with the throat clearing to be like, "Somebody pay me."
I mean, I think that if I were Shepard and I were being hunted by the Reapers, like a burglar breaking into my apartment wouldn't scare me. So I suppose I would leave my door unlocked because what's going to happen?
That's so stupid. That is so stupid. People are literally trying to kill you all the time. That is the dumbest stance to take. I'm sorry, Matt Storm, but that is the worst take you've ever had.
Look, that's the only logic I got for this, so that's what you're gonna get.
Between Pizza Volus and the Biotic God in Mass Effect 2, I think they really dropped the ball in not giving us more Volus NPCs to have around.
I would love more Volus. I love the Volus overall. I love the fact that they have to be environmental suits because they will explode otherwise outside of their home environments.
Yeah. I feel like we got Volus towards the end of the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, didn't we? Couldn't you play as Volus in a Volus?
It has been a long time since I've touched it. I cannot
I don't
tell
remember. Listener, if you're hearing this and you know, let us know.
So after the Volus gets paid, we're on our way. I took Garrus and Tally, of course.
I took Rex and Caden because I'm so happy I still have Rex back. So he's just coming.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I took Rex and Garrus just to get, the crew from Mass Effect 1 back together. I think I went through everyone just to have the experience, but definitely, my canon bros are Garrus and Rex.
Legit.
That's fair. I love that Cortez is also part of this.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny, too, Matt, you mentioned them, fleshing out the humans, and I feel like, even aside from Vega, with Steve, and even Trainer, they fleshed them out and they made me care. Whereas before, I appreciated my interactions with Gabby and Danny and with the other assistant lady whose name escapes me. But
Kelly.
Thank you. But I never got to know them as much as they gave us with Steve and Trainer, even if it was just for the one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Steve. I think he's great. He's driving you over, but he's also part of one of the teams, which I really appreciate. I'm just I didn't know that you would be here.
Yeah, I didn't know that he had combat training. I mean, I kind of assume everyone does.
Hang out with Joker.
Yeah.
Just be like, I wonder how long this is going to take them.
I love it, too, because he's just such a dad friend, even in other areas of the game. Everyone is oh, yeah, no big deal. Shepard does this, super whack and dangerous thing, whatever, and he's just holy shit, are you okay?
Are you okay? Do you need me to call someone? He has a really good quote when he's talking to Maya, where he says, "Hey, hang out with us long enough, you'll learn ropes, knives, bombs, thresher maws." I'm just are you complaining? Are you having a hard time?
Yeah, the banter in this DLC is top notch. I love the way all of these characters are interacting. What's really cool about Assaulting the Archives is, especially in the first area, it's they're all in different places and making comments, and they even choose team names.
Yes, the hammerhead in the main.
And they yell at each other about which one's better.
I love that
They're
much.
So good and so dumb. I like when we show up to the archives and Maya's just oh, I guess we can't get in unless we hack it for 3 hours, and James is just but I have a bomb.
I got this.
This is my bomb. He just hands it. Oh my god. So when we get in, we're ambushed. Everybody's suited up. Maya's suited up, even though she has no combat training, which is, suspicious. And as we're fighting and everybody's being quippy and funny and having a good time, just reveling in combat, Maya gets taken hostage.
Yep.
And then we find out Cerberus's dark secret.
Yeah, in my notes, it says the word clone with lots of exclamation points and question marks. I think I messaged MJ that night in all caps because it's just so in this moment we are confronted with our own face. A clone of Shepard is the cause of all this problem. Apparently, when Cerberus was bringing Shepard back, they also had backup Shepards in case the main Shepard didn't work, or they essentially for organ harvesting and other things, like they weren't meant to be the main Shepard.
Which is pretty terrible.
It is pretty terrible and makes me hate the Elusive Man more, but then so one of those clones survived and wants to be the Shepard and has made it their mission to kill you and become you, even though they are you. Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
Yeah, it's intense, and this Shepard clone is nothing like you. Well, maybe if you're a renegade, they are like you, but not like me.
Exactly.
The Paragon. Yeah, they were created for spare parts, which is really, like, sad and depressing, and, like, I would probably want to rebel against my creators, too. I would probably want to try and steal someone's life if I was created simply to, like, keep that person alive. I get the motive. It's still leading to murder, however.
Yes.
I tried to reason with them. We're on the same team, but they keep talking about the cult of Shepard. They were rude to my best friend and insinuated that they would kill Tally.
Yep.
Which I didn't appreciate.
Yeah, no. I have to, like, I'm dealing with Mark Meer, not dealing with. I am listening to the expertise of Mark Meer as I play as Mal Shepard, and, like, I like when any character gets to do the clone story in, like, an animation, because it's literally a voice actor arguing with themselves, and that's always fun. And to listen to it here, I could hear different vocal tones between the clone and the non-clone. It was subtle, and, like, when they're talking at the same time, it's hard to tell. But, like, in this scene, when it goes back and forth, I felt like I could hear the difference a little, and that's really cool. Like, and I'm sure Jennifer Hale's performance was just as nuanced. And it's like, this is not a storyline I would have ever predicted. Everyone knows this is my first time doing Citadel, but, like, I would have never guessed that we were going to fight a clone of ourselves. That was not on my list anywhere for the checklist of Mass Effect 3. And so that was pretty wild.
It was so hard keeping that from you.
I imagine.
It was so hard. I just have to, like, cut anyone off whenever they started speaking about Citadel because I had no idea what they would accidentally say.
Yeah, I definitely had not, like, clocked it at all, and it completely caught me off guard. Like, I was thinking everything but that.
Yeah. Like, I was wondering, did Saren somehow come back, or, like...
Oh, God.
The Elusive Man, or I don't know, or another Reaper, or Harbinger survived somehow. I don't know. Like, it could have literally been anything, and it was a clone, and I was very, very happy with that.
So once we have had this conversation with our clone, and they decide that they want us dead, they're going to steal our ship because, and I quote, "It's not stealing if I'm you." That is not how that works.
Nope.
Maya has been tossed aside, and Clone Shepard is running through the archives to find whatever it is they want in the hopes that their mercenaries are going to take care of us. However, it's not that easy.
No, and so we spend a chunk of the mission now chasing our clone through the archives, and in a moment of brilliance by Shepard sends Glyph, our trusty AI companion, to go find out what the other Shepard's doing. But the conversation that ensues when Shepard's trying to tell Glyph to go after the other Shepard is comedy gold.
Glyph in their entirety is comedy gold because
yes,
we love them.
Every time Glyph comes on screen, they're just like, "How can I be of assistance? Go find the other Shepard. What do they look like? They look like me. I found them then. No.
The other me.
The other one." And then later, "The other one didn't really want to talk. I tried to give them an update because I thought they were you."
Just...
You're cute and I love you.
It's so good. And, like, Glyph also giving us updates on, like, the battle and, like, what's in the archives and some of the things that are really fascinating.
The Elcor mating.
the Encore mating. It's just...
Oh, the mating totem. I can't. I do really want to highlight some, like, very good battle dialogue because it's so great. From the mercenaries. They have a Krogan. Why don't we? Liara shouting, "We go down together!" James, one big ass-kicking family. That's how legends do it. One of the mercenaries, "I think that Turian is Archangel."
That's funny. I didn't hear some of these. That's great. It's good to know that on multiple playthroughs, there's probably more you can discover from what they say.
I knew most of those. I never caught that Turian's Archangel, though.
Yeah.
That's good.
I just love it so much. And every time the rest of the team wants to talk about your clone, Shiver's just like, "I don't want to talk about it."
Yep. Yeah.
We're not talking about this.
My favorite line comes a little later, and I also messaged MJ about this. But this whole battle is great. The only downside is the one place this game shows its age is it is clear that the rendering of the other squad mates that are not with you are not the full renders of when they are with you. And when you cross their paths on catwalks or when you do converge with them towards the end of this section before we move on to the Normandy, you can see that they are a little blockier, which was really interesting to me. You have to be paying attention to notice it, but I'm curious if these textures are improved on the PS4, Xbox One version and the new PC version, because it's a simple palette swap. I assume it's probably just they used the lower res models because there's going to be so many things on screen. They wanted to make sure that everything worked smoothly. But I'm curious if they make that fix, since we'll get more into this during Fandom Corner. What I've seen so far of the Legendary Edition, it has been aesthetically beautiful almost 90% of the time. And so I'm curious if we'll see that improvement. But yeah, everything that MJ said is absolutely true. All of the banter is great. I love that I mentioned earlier, they divided into teams. At this point now, they're arguing over which is better and which team is doing better. I have Rex in my party, so again, princess. It's just constantly. My favorite thing is Rex's combat in the first game. He does some melee, but it's mostly shotgun and close range. But in 2, Grunt had dedicated melee attacks. Grunt was up in the thick of it. And so Rex's combat now is like Grunt's from 2, except so much more aggressive. A lot of very wide arcing headbutts and like throwing enemies. It's awesome. It's just so cool to watch. It's cool to see Rex operate on this level, something he was always capable of, but mechanically didn't really do much in the first game.
I wish that I had spent more time with Rex. That's not a choice I made, just because I know how I work with Tally and Garrus,
right?
And I know that this is a good team.
Right.
Why would I fuck with it?
That's legit.
I'm trying to go through my notes and see if there's anything else like worth talking about. I write a lot of quotes down because they're so good.
Not to interrupt, but there is something I want to bring up that I don't know if you all have noticed. So I know one of the big sticking points is oh my gosh, why can I not remember his name? Drell, Coliat's father. Thane. What is wrong with me? For Thane, because, I think there was a little bit of content for Thane if you did Citadel earlier enough, but, because most people wait till the tail end once, you have the bulk of your companions and stuff like that. Obviously, you're not going to see much of Thane there. So I would be curious to know if anyone did Citadel early enough that they would have gotten that Thane content.
Interesting.
I wonder if you can do it that early. I'm not sure.
Because I know they had a small scene where if you romanced Thane, would come in and help you, or unless that was like some promo material that they ended up scrapping. But I thought there was a little bit in there, because I know it was almost like almost throwing a bone for folks who, romanced Thane.
That is definitely a thing I'm going to have to look into. I know that there is some Thane content after the main mission.
Got it. So what we'll be talking about in part 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I have to assume there is, only because, and I think we've talked about this on the podcast recently, but, I found out you can do the whole first game without Garrus. And if you do that, when you meet him as Archangel, they have recorded dialogue for that. They have interactions and,
500 things I would never do but need to watch videos of.
Right. And so, because I was talking to previous guest Eric Van Allen about this, and he said, yeah, there is recorded dialogue of that, because if you don't go to the med clinic, you never get Garrus. There's no other place where you grab him. So if you skip that, you move on through the game without him. And so it's very interesting to me that the Thane thing that you bring up, I feel like that must be in there. I would be shocked if it wasn't, because they've had a lot of contingencies based on the decisions you'd make, even if they are unlikely decisions.
Sorry, I wanted to see when Citadel becomes available in Mass Effect 3. Because if it is after the coup, then Thane wouldn't be in it. But if it's before the coup...
I believe it's before the coup, because I feel like every time we were going to the Citadel, except like the first time, Anderson's apartment was an option. But I'm not positive.
Nope. It unlocks after you stop the coup.
Okay.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Then there must not be
Yeah,
anything
there
stuff
isn't that.
other than, yeah, interesting.
There are things for if you romance Thane. I don't want to spoil anything because there's stuff if you haven't romanced Thane. But Thane gets a tribute.
Sure, which makes sense.
So.
He's a pretty integral part of 2 for sure, and even parts of 3. But while battling through the archives, we also engage in, or you can choose to engage, and there are like holo recordings. And some of them, even when you walk into them, it recognizes your Spectre status and gives you a little more information. There's the First Contact War. There's stuff with the Solarian STG. There's stuff about the Citadel and how far it actually dates back and its structure and stuff. All really cool, interesting, fun, fan servicey stuff. There's stuff with the Elcor, as we mentioned earlier, and the Elcor mating.
Can I talk about one history thing that made me like real fucking mad?
Sure.
So, like you said, there's lots of different like historical moments, like the start of the Spectres, for example, is
yes.
one. The first Turian human interrogation is one. The one that pissed me off was the Battle for the Citadel's entry, because they claimed that it was a Geth ship, but then when it recognizes your Spectre status, it then says, oh, you're authorized to know what really happened, and then it shows you the Reaper, and it identifies it as a Reaper. I'm like, oh, you dicks, you absolute dicks.
Yep, this is the Citadel Council's archive, so it has the information that the Citadel Council wants you to know.
Makes me so mad.
It's the final straw in the "they don't believe you" hat. I don't know. I lost the metaphor mid-sentence.
God, they make me so mad. But what didn't make me mad was the mercenaries then yelling, I'm starting to think we picked the wrong shepherd.
Yeah, that's very good. The fighting here is fun. I'm in full swing with Vanguard, and so I'm enjoying it. This mission seems really well designed from a combat standpoint. Again, see the thing earlier where I said this is fan service, the DLC. They really did tweak this to make it really good from start to finish. But nothing really of note of the battles. We're just battling up the floors of the archives, trying to get to.
They were fun. They were enjoyable. They weren't too hard.
Yep.
You know, it was meant to be engaging, but not overly challenging, I think.
Agreed.
For sure. And then, so as we battle through, eventually one of the teams goes dark. Then another team goes dark. And of course, at that point, as a shepherd, I'm like, well, here it comes. Something's going to happen. I can see it coming.
Yeah, we hear Brooks pleading for help, and then we become trapped in a vault.
Yeah. And then Brooks, of course, walks out from behind Clone Shepherd and was like, hey, I'm a bad guy. Sorry.
The evil reveal.
And of course, I immediately texted MJ and was like, I knew it. I didn't know it, but I knew it.
I was gonna say, I was like, did you really know anything going into this?
But you've trained me over the years to not trust anyone in Mass Effect ever.
Good, I'm glad.
Early days of playing Mass Effect, and I think it was the third game probably, MJ was just like, every time she met a character, I don't know if I trust them. They're probably going to betray me.
I don't know why I'm like this, but every time there's a character that's like very clearly on your side, I'm just like, suspicious.
What do you want?
I'm like everyone else that I'm friends with has pointed a gun at me, like at some point or another. You were too nice. I can't trust you.
Exactly. Like, I know where Garrus and Tally stand. They're fine. They can do no wrong. But the new person comes in to be like all starry-eyed at me. I'm like, nope. Nope, 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 nope. I'm not into it. Also, now I can finally talk about, like, there were moments in our part 1 take on the Citadel where I wanted to talk about how Brooks works really hard to isolate you, but she doesn't count on the fact that you have all of these friends who are concerned and will do anything to protect you. And when the Citadel shuttle arrives, it's full of mercenaries. She's the one who called the shuttle. Every time you go somewhere new, you are being tracked. She's the one that's tracking your comms. And I'm just like, oh, you're so insidious. You're so insidious.
When anyone calls in and she yells at them to get off the comms and says you shouldn't be talking to anybody because they're hacking you, like all of that is to isolate Shepard.
And make her reliant on Maya, but it doesn't work. And she has to find a new way in.
Yeah, there's a part at the end of the boss fight which also plays to, it all comes down to Shepard having friends and people caring for Shepard that foils the whole thing. But here they start to grandstand. You can use renegade or paragon triggers to like plead and be stoic, and it does nothing. I don't know what not doing them does, because doing them also does nothing.
So my favorite thing was your 2 dialogue options where I will end you or I will end you painfully.
Yeah.
And then, who are you so I can end you?
Yeah. But you get trapped in this archive tube while Shepard, the other Shepard, and Brooks gloat about going to steal your Normandy. The whole purpose of this run was so Shepard could change the biometric. So they are identical clones except for their fingerprints, because fingerprints are so hard to reproduce, supposedly. The science here is who knows. And so Shepard wanted to get into the archive, so at the base of the file, he could change the handprint to his and then pretend to be you and steal your ship, and then send you into the archive.
So a couple of things that we learn along the ways. Brooks put together our Mass Effect 2 team, which was predominantly aliens, which is weird because Maya Brooks is a human extremist. Like, she's pro-human extremist. She thought that it was a mistake to bring in aliens. Like, but you put together the dossiers. You're the one who gave me aliens to work with. I am confused. And also, Shepard Clone tries to say that Maya Brooks is like her Miranda, but with more bite. And I'm like, that's impossible. Have you met Miranda Lawson?
Yeah, not possible.
I refuse to believe that. Yeah. And then one of my favorite things happen after we are locked away in this vault.
Yes, when we are locked away in the vault, Shepard Clone says, I should go, and leaves, and you get locked in the vault. It shows a wide shot of all the vault tubes, and there's a moment of silence, and then Shepard goes, do I sound like that? Why did anybody tell me I sound like that? I had Rex and Caden with me, and Rex goes, I don't know. I just thought it was some kind of human tradition or catchphrase. I didn't know. And he's like, I should go. I should go. I don't sound like that. Like, it just has an existential break.
Garrus is just like, yeah, you kind of do sound like that. And I chose the Paragon, which is, I say much cooler things. Sometimes it's, I'll talk to you later. But I never do. I'm so busy.
It's so good. It's just, this is like the pinnacle of the fan service stuff, and I appreciate a good sense of humor. I think that the games in moments have had really great humor, and I appreciate that this is essentially an action comedy.
It is.
Yeah, it really is.
Anyway, no one steals my ship. Not even me.
No, and so we do, because we have help, Glyph we see hovering outside the tubes. They get the tube out. We are reunited with Team Hammerhead and Team Mako. We're on the patio, about to get into a sky car where Steve is driving, and they
Joker's driving.
Oh no, Joker's driving. Joker's like, all right, let's go. I've got room for Shepard and 2 more. And you have to pick 2. And when you pick 2, a handful of the others comment on how they are disappointed that they didn't get picked. Yep. Sad. And I was like, this is brutal.
Who was upset?
For me, I believe it was Javik and Tali, because I took Rex and Caden. I've just kept them the whole mission.
Yeah. So I took Garrus and Tali, and Rex said, I wanted to go. And Ashley said, I never seem to get picked. And it was just like, oh, you're not wrong, baby.
Yeah, except I always take Garrus and Rex, so it was Tali and Ashley who were disappointed about not being taken.
And like I've had Edie in the past being like, I'm never chosen for these.
Yep.
I'm just like,
Oh, we love Edie.
it's my boyfriend and my best friend. Please leave me alone.
Well, the best part is Javik is the one who says I never get picked for those, and I was like, maybe there's a reason for that.
Like,
Javik.
Maybe
You're
there's
new.
a reason.
You're an imperialist bastard. You don't get to come.
I kind of hate you.
That's why I don't pick you.
There's a reason. I wonder why I defrosted you.
He's on like the questionable morals team with like Rex. Like if I need to go somewhere that I can't then talk to anyone about what happened, I'm taking Javik and Rex.
That's valid. I respect that.
That makes sense. So we get in the Sky Car, and now we're off to try and stop the Normandy from taking off. And we have to battle our way across the pier to the Normandy, an area that we've seen a ton, this dock, but never at this angle, which is pretty cool to kind of get this different purview of the Citadel dock.
You go kill the crap out of you. One of my favorite Joker lines.
My favorite
It's a very
lines.
good line.
When we get up to the Normandy, Trainer is so upset. She has just been fired for conduct unbecoming, and I think which is a like messed up way of saying because she's a lesbian.
Yeah, and she's like sees you and went, what are you doing here? You just fired me, even though the other guy's clearly wearing different armor, but that's neither here nor there. And is just so upset with you and won't let you explain initially. She's just so mad.
So I have to interrupt because I've watched videos of the Trainer romance, and if you have romance Trainer and this happens, Shepard will kiss her and just be like, it wasn't me. It was an evil clone.
I love it. So
That's
good.
perfect.
So good. And the Trainer romance may be worth it just for that scene alone.
Yeah. That's so good.
But of course, what does it take to save the day but Trainer's Mass Effect field generating toothbrush?
Yeah, Trainer is pissed. She's like, I didn't even get a chance to grab my things. I barely had time to grab my toothbrush. This toothbrush that's a callback to one of the earliest moments of the game. And then
It costs 10,000 credits.
that cost 10,000 credits. We asked Trainer, you know the ship better than almost anyone. Is there a way on? She reveals that there is a mechanical door that is not part of the detectable security in the same way that what Edie controls, but it's manual, and we can't open it. And of course, I had Kaden with me, and she's like, we would need something powerful to get it open. And Caden's like, my biotics aren't focused enough. I don't think I could get it open. And then Trainer slowly holds up her toothbrush.
It's so good. And then we finally get to have this experience where we fight through the Normandy.
Which is really interesting. So we're crawling through the vents as the guards above us are talking. Shepard says, well, it barely worked, but I think I have to expense Trainer the credits for her toothbrush
Buy her a
now.
new toothbrush.
And you hear the guards like starting to regret their decisions and like, oh, the boss said slow Shepard down. Well, what do you mean? What did he mean by slow Shepard down? Oh, I don't think he thinks we can stop Shepard. Oh no. Like it's just such good like henchman talk. And then we press a button that conveniently opens the stairwell to the cockpit, so we can't go that way because they probably didn't render all of it. And we fight through the CIC of the Normandy, which Rex is reveling in.
Garrus too.
Rex says, I always hoped I'd get to do this. And Shepard goes, you always hoped you could fight through the CIC of my ship? And Rex is like, yeah, it's not even my birthday. It's the best.
It's funny you bring it up, but I think that the specific quote for the mercenaries, it's like, I think he thinks we're just cannon fodder. Well,
yes,
shit.
Yes.
that is the quote. That is perfect.
Yes.
And a thought I had while I was playing that was, it's such a funny inverse from the little Joker vignette in 2. You know, like when you're escaping the collectors, it's like, oh shit, like this is spoopy. But like when you're going through with a Shepard, you're like, I'm damn well aware I'm the scariest thing on the ship right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're going through it as Joker, there is no like real freedom to move around, and you're dealing with the horror of everyone that you've gotten to know being taken. And in this, there's no fear of like your loved ones being kidnapped or anything bad happening to them. Instead, it is just let me at him.
Yeah, exactly.
So after we clear the CIC, well, before I do, Garrus says that this is his favorite place to fight. And Shepard's like, I thought your favorite place to fight was a fancy antique store. That's what you told me. And we find that the clone Shepard is getting rid of all of our stuff.
Yeah, and we try to call Edie to help us, but apparently she has been disconnected from the ship. So we have to go do things ourselves. So we head into the elevator to go down to the cargo bay. And while we head down, we ask for help. And Joker's like, don't worry, I've got a plan B, but doesn't tell you what plan B is.
Wait, did you have like a funny thing in the elevator?
Yes. Rex says in the elevator to Caden, hey, Caden, remember when I asked you if you could kick Shepard's ass? Now we'll finally find out the answer to that question. And Caden goes, I really wish you hadn't brought that back up. Or no, Caden said, I really wish you had forgotten that we had that conversation.
Yeah, I have Garrus saying, am I the only one who misses when we used to chat in the elevator? And Tally's just like, yes, because you're terrible.
Oh, see, I had Garrus and Rex, so when Garrus asked that, Rex was just like, nope.
Oh, yay. That's good. At least Garrus isn't alone. Also, Clone Shepard is trying to throw out my hamster. I'm still very upset about it.
Yeah.
All my fish and models.
So upsetting. Just as upsetting as when you get down to the shuttle bay and she walks out in my N7 gear. That is not your armor, ma'am.
Yeah, my Shepard goes, well, that's creepy.
Yep. And just, I don't know how she thinks she's gonna get away with it. Because, like, yes, you could try to get rid of all of my friends, but do you know how many friends I have in the entire galaxy? Like, Arya Taloka will take one look at you and just be like, nope.
Yep.
She's barely my friend, and she will know.
Yeah, we get down to the cargo bay, and this is the ship is already taken off at this point while we're fighting down there, and this is the final boss fight with Brooks, with Clone Shepard, and whatever henchmen are still alive at this point. As we're fighting through the ship, Joker checks in, asks how things are going, tells us to get to the cockpit immediately to stop the ship. You mentioned you're a little busy, and then Joker's like, don't worry, we've got a plan B, and doesn't tell you what plan B is. And plan B is them getting in front of the nose of the ship in a sky car to keep it from jumping to light speed.
My boys!
Oh, man.
It's classic Normandy crew.
They have a whole conversation about how both of them are bait at this point to stop the ship from going. It's very good.
The fight with Shepard, with the Shepard clone, is really intense until you finally tackle the clone through, like, the barrier, keeping things from spilling off of the ship. And it's just this scene where you're both hanging on for your lives, and what makes you so special is the question that's asked. And it's answered immediately when your two friends come to save your life. And Brooks won't even risk it for the clone.
Nope. Just gives the clone a dirty look and turns around. And, like, I love that the whole mission is asking that question that Clone Shepard finally asks, and the answer is just so obvious, but they still don't understand until it's displayed in that moment.
Yeah.
And then you're given this moment once you're pulled up on the ship, you can choose to save or not save your clone, either way ending in the same result. Just the difference is your decision. I chose to try and save the clone. I assume you did the same, MJ?
Yeah, I did too. I tried to save her.
And the clone says, what am I going to do? What can you do? And you're like, you'll survive. You'll live. And the clone's like, no. And then just lets go of the ship, impacts a building, and we go back on the ship, arrest Brooks, and have one last opportunity for a renegade trigger, or a Paragon trigger, while talking to Brooks.
Yeah. There's a lot of gay tension between FemShep and Brooks.
It's just sex. It's just sexual tension because it's there with male Shepard and Brooks as well.
Yeah. Worst chore leave ever.
Yeah. With Brooks, you have an opportunity to take a Paragon trigger, which I did, which allows you to kind of lecture Brooks, and Brooks doesn't try and escape her, like, bindings and goes along with whoever is arresting them, because it's kind of unclear who is locking her up at this point.
I
but
think
someone
it's
is.
CSEC.
Probably.
I think C-Sec is taking her off ship. But then, like, everything wraps up and everyone walks away into the distance. Oh, my babies. I love them. I love my baby children. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Back home, Joker proposes that we have a party.
Yep. And then you say, all right. And then Joker starts inviting people and you go, wait, I'm in charge of the guest list. He's like, well, this thing doesn't have an uninvite button.
I mean, it does. You just don't want to.
Yeah.
And
then, like, after Shepard says, I'm control the guest list, he mentions, well, Steve invited Vega already. And he's like, it's very good. And then Rex says that he's got to go. He's got other stuff to do. Let me know if you have this party thing.
He's got shit to do.
And then we wrap up. So in part 3, we will talk about the inevitable party we're going to throw.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the Citadel DLC part 2. I'm still really enjoying it. It's wild at this far point in my love of Mass Effect to experience something new. That said, as we shift into Fandom Corner, it's relevant. We decided, I put a disclaimer a few weeks back, but as you know, we're banking these episodes. And so we now have reached the point in your future, our past, where the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is actually out. And MJ and I thought we'd share some thoughts on, I said thought twice, sure, why not, on the Mass Effect Legendary Edition and what we think of the game so far. Our experience with the first game, which is what we've both played so far, the various points we're at, and just some initial notes. And so I'll start in relation to what I was just talking about. I found another Citadel mission I've never played before on this playthrough.
Which one was it?
It's the older woman who you approach, and she's the head of a crime syndicate with
Helena
two other.
Blake.
Yeah, I'd never done that mission before.
I mean, you probably never done it before because you're like, I'm not getting involved in your crime, ma'am.
I mean, I don't know that I ever talked to her. She's by the financial district, and I just don't remember ever talking to her. But to be more succinct, although it's probably too late for that, I'll start by talking about just my base impressions. First of all, the Legendary Edition is gorgeous. The load-up screen for the entire trilogy is amazing. It's one of the coolest looking BioWare logos. It flashes a lot of the characters that you meet in the Mass Effect series. The title screen is gorgeous. It's got the N7 helmet. It shows the Normandy in the background. And then as you click on the first game, it shows a different shot of, I believe, Earth. And it's just looks great. Something I've noticed now on several playthroughs. In the past, when you'd boot up Mass Effect 1, you'd have to select to start the game, select a save file, boot up the save file. Now, like most modern games, when you start the game, it boots up the newest save file, just right into the game.
Yeah, you can resume.
It looks great. It's the best the first game has ever looked. I'm proud to say that Shepard doesn't look like a weird sort of human monster anymore. Shepard looks like a person. I made a male Shepard that feels the closest to ever looking like me in this franchise, which was pretty exciting. And yeah, the overall thoughts, I'm up to, as of when we're recording, I'm up to Novaria. I'm really enjoying it. I mean, the mechanical hiccups are still there, but the gun combat does feel tighter and the gameplay does feel better. Sad to report, the Mako improvements aren't that good. It's still the Mako. But yeah, beyond that, I'm loving it. I'm re-falling in love with Mass Effect as I anticipated I would. I'm really excited to keep playing it, and I will probably play it on loop forever, as I anticipated. More to report as I get through more of the games. What about you, MJ?
Well, first I want to kick it over to Velvet for a little bit. I know you have had a rough weekend, so you haven't started it yet. But I wanted to see, what are you excited to experience in Legendary?
I think I'm most excited. A graphic, it's always nice to see stuff looking better, but, definitely graphics aren't a huge thing for me. I'm more so excited just to see, what stuff they've added, or if stuff flows a little better. I think it would be interesting to have the whole Kojin experience streamlined, because before you had to go back through or do stuff post games as DLC were added. So I think that's what I'm interested in seeing. It's funny, we talked about Helena Blake. I think that one is also another one I missed initially, but eventually went back through. It's interesting with the change they've done to the leveling system, because you can choose to have kind of the more compact leveling system that mirrors 2 and 3. So now, it's almost not a prerequisite to need New Game Plus for, the first game at least, to get all, your little, skill points. I do wonder how it's gonna go for like the Paragon and Renegade points, because I know there's some options where, unless you really committed to one from the start, to get some of those like higher tier decisions, usually you need it to be on New Game Plus. So it'll just be interesting to see how that goes.
I can answer that a little bit for you if you'd like.
Oh, absolutely. And one quick point though, I'm okay with them not having fixed the Mako. I think it being like super walky was a key to the Mako experience.
Sure.
It wasn't supposed to be safe.
I mean, that is factual. Even if I don't like it, you are correct. It is key to the experience of the Mako. That is a factual statement.
It's like the Halo Warthog. Like, I'm not expecting a safe time when I board this vehicle.
I replayed Halo 1 recently in the collector's edition, the anniversary collection, and like that final Warthog run in the first game is just impossible. I flipped the damn thing 20 times and still survived. I don't know how.
Well, to answer the question of the Paragon and Renegade points, you are right. You have to like stay pretty committed from the beginning to unlock those higher tier conversation choices. I found that it was a little harder at first for me to like build up the Paragon, but the more side missions that I did, the easier it became. So I actually went to Novaria, tried to do a conversation, saw that I couldn't get the Paragon answer, and was like, well, I'm going to reload and not go to Novaria right now and go do some side missions and see if I can build this up. And then I went back and I did it, and, you know, it worked out okay. So yeah, I think that it definitely encourages you to spend time on other planets before pursuing the main story. So it's a good argument for spending time doing side missions and stuff like that and exploring the world. I took off work on Friday so I could start playing it. Matt and I actually were both online at midnight. We were on a call so we can kind of experience it together separately. Matt took 20 minutes to decide on his class.
Yep, I had a decision paralysis. Creating the character was easy. Picking the like backstory options was easy. But I've played all the classes, and so like it wasn't like, oh, let me play the one I've never played. So I picked the one that I couldn't remember very well, which was engineer. Also, I plan on romancing Tali as male Shep, so I was like, oh, we'll both be engineers. It'll be cute.
I love that. I have this issue where if I know that like
choice.
There's other canon romances, or maybe not canon, but if there's romances available between other party members, I tend to like not butt in. So that I like to think in my head I'm just playing matchmaker, like when when you take the two dolls and just go no smooch.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but can I present to you Poly Triad, Garrus, Shep, and Tali?
The dream.
Sure. It's
right?
It's the dream, but it'll never happen.
But Tali wants it to happen.
That's what fanfics are for. Listen, I'm just saying, it's no coincidence that Garrus starts Mass Effect 1 with like some tech shenanigans. They knew.
That's true.
But yeah, so I took off all day Friday and I played pretty much the entire weekend, taking one socializing break where I left the house and I went to meet with friends in Long Island City. But other than that, I am up to Vermeer. I'm really enjoying the fact that my shepherd looks like a person. Every once in a while, she'll like turn her head and I'll be struck by how much of a person she looks like. And I'm just like, you're so beautiful. How did that happen? She still looks nothing like me, but she's incredibly beautiful, so I'm okay with it. And also, BioWare, I don't understand why there are two different shades of purple for hair, but no blue.
Really?
Yeah, their choices are arbitrary. Also, like, there are dozens short hair, not really any long hair still. I still can't do an undercut, so I did a swoop instead, but like...
You're still in the military, man.
Yeah, I guess, but like, by the third game, that's a lousy excuse. We're not in the military anymore.
In the third game, we're back in the military. Who are you kidding?
Yeah, but after we got fired from the military, so like, we're already a rule breaker.
But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to Andromeda. So yeah, I hate the fact that there's no blue hair, so I chose purple because I guess that's close enough.
And now we both have purple hair.
We both have purple hair. Like, part of me is like, do I want to dye my hair purple in real life now?
And see, I used to have purple hair.
We can go purple at the same time.
Yes, hair dye party. Hair
yeah.
dye party. One day, Velvet.
Figure it out.
We'll get together and have a hair dye party. I'm trying to think if there's anything else important that I want to talk about in regards. I'm still having trouble with the Mako, but I think that's a me thing and not necessarily the game.
Yeah, well,
it's an everyone thing.
I just keep trying to climb every mountain.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. And I'm just falling down the sides of the mountain like, ah!
I feel like I can confidently say that that's not even just a you thing, that's just a Mako thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I'm enjoying it. I'm really excited to move on. My dear spouse has been playing it all day. This is why I had to take the weekend to just me play it, no one else. It's so that when John finally plays it, I'm not distracted by him playing 10 feet away from me.
That's legit.
Because I have already played this part. I don't need to watch him do it.
Yeah, that's the one good thing about it, at least currently being the only person in the household playing this game. Although my spouse does want to try it again because she likes what I've told her about it and is interested. So stay tuned. We are, of course, going to do more Legendary Edition talk. We'll probably have an episode dedicated to it at some point, but I think that'll probably be after this season, just so we can both have time to play the game, as well as possible guests have time to play the game. But before we wrap up this episode completely, Velvet, pick a character.
Oh, I jumped the gun a little bit, and I already chose one. I went for Miranda.
Yep. So Miranda's prompt is, what's your aesthetic? And I would love to hear you describe your aesthetic because you're one of my favorite people, so.
Insert Spider-Man pointing meme. So lately I've actually been but really getting into almost that like very sleek black and gold aesthetic.
Ooh.
And I definitely thought about it with Miranda's question because her alternate like loyalty costume in 2, that like black gold combo, that's what I've been really into lately. Like black, gold, and purple. Maybe I've just been watching like too much Golden Wind and I'm taking after Giorno. That might be part of it too.
Oh, I have to finish your resin stuff. I haven't had energy to do resin work, but I have a set of resin knives in process for Velvet that are black and gold. So it will match your aesthetic. I'm very excited to finish them. I just need to have the energy to do it. Matt, how would you define your aesthetic?
Let's be real. Over the last year and a half of the pandemic, my aesthetic has been sweatpants and a t-shirt. But on the occasion that I do get to dress up, it's gay, painting my nails, undercut, haircut. I miss dyeing my hair. But I would say like indie music nerd is my best aesthetic. You know, I wear a lot of t-shirt and jeans or Hawaiian shirts with characters on them. I do own a Pokemon themed Hawaiian shirt with the evolutions of Bulbasaur on it.
I love that.
You know, I think like adult hipster who's learned that they're not too good for everything is the basis of my aesthetic and has evolved from there.
Can I just say my favorite thing that you own is that beautiful velvet blazer that has the floral embroideries on it.
That was a find on the discount rack at Macy's, I believe. And yeah, when I was still hosting and DJing burlesque shows, I wore that often. It's become an essential...
Chef's kiss.
It's an essential outfit piece. I want more blazers like it. But I haven't had much occasion to dress up lately. Hopefully that will change soon as we are hopefully on the tail end of the pandemic. Hard to say yet. But everybody get vaccinated and keep wearing masks. Thanks. But yeah, no, I would say that blazer is indicative of my kind of dressier rock and roll aesthetic. What about you, MJ? Well, how would you define your aesthetic?
So I'm actually going to use what John has described my aesthetic as, which is baby goth Cassandra Killian.
Sure, why not?
I love that so much.
Cassandra Killian is a character from The Librarians. She wears a lot of brightly colored tights. She wears collared shirts under sweaters, or like she layers up a lot and wears a lot of bright colors. I am like the goth alt version of that.
Awesome.
I love it.
So a lot of like dark lipsticks, still brightly colored tights, but like leather skirts and black pinafores and gauzy shirts with skulls on them. Like, I have a very pointed aesthetic.
Nice. If you are an inclined listener, let us know your aesthetics. Sound off in the Discord. I
love the way people describe their aesthetics, so please do.
Yeah, please do. All right. Well, that's part 2. We are going to conclude our 3-part series with for the Citadel DLC with the legend, the one, the only, Liana Rupert, the Mass Effect fan as far as I'm concerned. I didn't think there was one bigger than us, and then we met her, and she definitely is the biggest Mass Effect fan I know. But we're really excited to have her back. She was originally going to cover the whole thing with us until we decided we had to blow it up into 3 parts because it was too much. For the record, when I asked which of the 3 parts, because of course we asked her first since she was the original guest, within seconds she said the party. The party. I want to talk about the party. So.
I'm very excited.
So she knows what she wants, and we will have her here. We are very excited. Velvet, please tell folks where they can find you and what you do on the internet.
Oh, absolutely. So my name is Velvet Divine. I use fair pronouns. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the interwebs at OG Brown Sugar, mainly the Bird app and the streaming app. You can find me on a wide variety of, TTRPG live streams throughout the week. I would suggest, just more so following the Bird app for updates on those, because, those change. Sometimes weeks are skipped. You know how it be. You can also find me on the Stories of a Broken Sun and Flight Risk podcasts. You can find both myself and MJ on the Deep Magic Changing the Dreaming TTRPG stream. And that's Friday evenings on Arc of the Dragon on Twitch. You can catch up with the VODs on Archive of the Dragon on YouTube. And beyond that, you can find me on the Stories of a Broken Sun and Flight Risk podcasts.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Velvet, for joining us. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. So stoked for it.
Absolutely. I look forward to getting to know you better via the Bird app. I already follow you, and I've been watching some of the streams, and you are delightful. So thank you for joining us.
Yay. If you like what you heard here, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, facebook.com/reignitepod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of the Certain Point of View podcast network. You can find us at certainpov.com, also with a ton of other nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. There's also a permanent invite link to our Discord server where by the time you hear this, you can no longer keep things from me about Citadel DLC because I'll have experienced it. But there is still stuff to talk about Andromeda without me knowing for now. Also, if you are not following us on social, please do, because we are in the peak of Mass Effect content, and our Twitter is going to be the most active it's ever been because all of my friends are posting delicious, delicious photo mode screenshots. So please do follow us on social.
Matt and I work on some other projects. Velvet already mentioned Deep Magic, where we are both on the cast. I play a punk rock Selkie who has no idea what they're doing, except they do have a sword that can rip open a portal in space. Who knows where that will lead? Velvet plays a red cap who can eat a car. That's incredible. And also, if you're a fan of My Darling Husband, he's also on the show where he plays sometimes a she-prince and sometimes a mer-king. Who knows what he is at the end of the day? And also, my dear husband has allowed us to utilize his P.O. box. If you would like to send Matt or I cards or letters or anything like that, you can send that to P.O. Box 4288 in Dunellen, New Jersey, zip code 08812, and I will send you a sticker in return.
I do a bunch of stuff as well. You can find all of the podcasts I work on at www.djstormageddon.com. Also, my Ko-fi is there, my merch store, literally everything that I do is found there. So please go check that out. And if you want to follow me on social, the best place is, as aforementioned, the Bird app on Twitter. I'm DJ_Stormageddon. I am most active there.
We'd like to thank Red Sphinx for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Caden Alenko. You can find more of his work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
We'd also like to thank Carter's husband, our previous guest in this 3-part series, for designing even more amazing t-shirt designs that you can find at certainpov.com or on Teespring.
Thank you to David Boyle for designing our logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble. And finally, thank you to Dan Bull for letting us use the Mass Effect rap for our theme music. I'm MJ.
I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon.
And I'm Velvet Divine. We should go.
You're listening to Reignite. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
Writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans!
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all Screen Beans now.
You will be mine.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.